we are now moving towards creating our content for our site. And this is where it's starting to get really exciting, where we can really let our creativity go. But what we do need to do first is to set up our course categories. And the course categories is basically like the folder structure for our site, or I often refer to it as our filing cabinet. It doesn't really affect the users as much. The users don't really have a lot to do with the course categories, but it does affect you guys from an admin point of view as far as how do your courses get managed? How do you find them? How do you locate them? It really does help, especially when you start dealing with lots and lots of courses. Things can get very messy, and it can be really, really hard when you have new staff coming on to try and find out or even explain where everything is and where it all got to. So to get into here, so I can show you a little bit about what I'm talking about, I'm going to click on my administration tab here in my left-hand menu bar, and I'll go down to site administration. And from site administration, I'm going to click on the third tab along, which is called courses. Now under courses is manage courses and categories at the top there. So what I can do from here is this is where I'm looking at, well, not only eventually I can build a course through this section, but this is also where I'm looking at my categories. So basically on the left-hand side here is where my categories or my folder structure and my filing structure sits here under our course categories. We have a list of existing categories here already, and that's fine. But today, for today's example, I want to create a new one and sort of just go through those steps with you so you sort of feel comfortable to set up your own folder structure. So it's really, really easy to create a course category, or sorry, a new category. There's really nothing that you really need to know or any sort of technical things. You really just have to know, is it, what sort of level does it sit at? So is it a top level category or is it going to be a subcategory? And also that what you're going to call it, what's the name for it? So I'm literally just going to click on add a new category. And in this case, I'm going to say I want it to be the parent category. I want it to be a top level category. So I don't want it to have a parent. I just want it to be a top level category. So the category name, I'm going to call this one as induction. So this will be for my company induction, and I'm going to have some courses that sit within that. So we've got induction, and I'm going to scroll down and say create category. So if I have a look now, in my list of available categories, I now have induction as the last one along here. Now I do have up and down arrows on all of these categories. So I do have the ability to move this up and down the list. So maybe I just want to, place a bit more importance on induction and I want it to appear at the top of the list. I could move it up if I want, just by clicking those up and down arrows to move things around. And in my case, induction's not enough for what I've drawn up here. What I would like to do is under induction, I would like to have the subcategories of 2018 and 2019. So this is going to help me separate my induction courses, and it's going to allow me to capture just that year's worth of people who have been inducted. And then they move on and we then capture the following year's worth of people. So it sort of just keeps things separate, and it gives me a really clear indication of where the relevant courses for inductions are going to sit. So to do this, I'm going to click on the little cog beside induction here because I actually want to create a subcategory. So I'm going to click on create new subcategory. And by doing that, it's just automatically populating out that parent category with the correct name that we're wanting it. So the category name for this particular example is going to be 2018. And we'll scroll down and click create category. And then I'm also going to go back in and repeat the process again. And this time we'll create a new subcategory and we'll call it 2019. So we're going to have one for each year, for example. And we'll create category. So suddenly now, because induction has some subcategories, we get the little minus icon here. And if I click that, it'll collapse it. And I can then see that induction actually does have some subcategories below it. So click the plus to expand, and there they are there. You might notice these little zero marks here with that little circular symbol there. Now this is basically giving you an indication as to how many courses have actually been built at each of those category levels. So courses can be built within a top level category as well as a subcategory. There's no restrictions around what and where you can actually build your courses. It's totally up to you. Now, if for any reason you've accidentally made a mistake, it's so easy to fix. There's nothing that you can do wrong in this section. You can use your checkboxes down the left-hand side here and then scroll to the bottom and say move selected categories to. So you have the ability to go and change them around and move them around there if you accidentally made a mistake. Pick the category you'd like to move it to and then click move. If for some reason, for example, 2018 should have been a top level category, You could either do the move that I just showed you, or if it was just for the one category, you could click the edit cog and then edit the category. And then here, just like what we did when we set up, you can then change the parent category. So you could move it to a top level category if you wanted to. Through that edit icon, this is also where we can delete the category. And we can do quite a bunch of other things, which we don't cover in this particular onboarding things, but we do offer with further training as well around assigning roles to particular categories, restricting cohorts to particular categories as well. So there's a lot of powerful functionality that we can do there. There's no limit to the amount of categories that you create. So you can have hundreds of categories, you can just have one, or you can have two. It really doesn't matter. This is a very personal thing that you need to tailor to your business and to work out what's going to suit your needs the best. You'll also, just in wrapping up, you'll also notice that there is the icon on your category as well. And this is enabling you to be able to hide that category. And it does work in a hierarchical sort of way. So basically, if I was to hide the 2019 category, that subcategory, because it's a subcategory of induction, so that subcategory and all its subs and the courses that are contained within it or any of its subcategories will now be hidden. Or I can make 2019 visible and I could hide induction, which means everything below it, including all the courses and all the subcategories, will also be hidden as well. So depending on where you hide it, will depend on what level of everything that's going to be hidden below it as well. Now, just a bit like a folder resource, what we need to do is if you were going to build a course into any of these categories, you need to basically open that folder to be able to build that course. So simply by clicking on the name of any of these folders, so you'll see that they're all hyperlinked. So if I click on the name of induction, you'll see that my page reloads and the induction folder now opens up here. So I would now be able to see what courses were contained within inside induction. If I clicked on 2018, the page would reload and 2018 is now here. So if I was to build a course by clicking create new course, it would be building it within inside my 2018 subcategory.